Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Scrappy Cinema Podcast. Very excited today to have our first two guests. First, we have Dara Bruselovsky and Ben Szemerenyi. They are responsible for the short So Close. Thank you for joining me today, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome to
thank
be
you for
here.
having us.
So, Dara, you're the director and screenwriter, and Ben, I know you were a co-screenwriter on this. How did the two of you meet? How did you come together for this collaboration?
I went to Pratt Institute for college, and I had a wonderful freshman year roommate who is actually our other producer. Um, and she then transferred to NYU, became friends with Ben. They started working together, introduced me to Ben. We decided to start a production company. We figured let's start with a short film. I had an idea and I came to Ben with it. And lucky for me, he agreed to write it with me. And yeah, then we just became, partners and friends from there.
Dara, this movie's called So Close. Maybe you can give people a brief synopsis, but I understand that was not the original title.
Where did you find this out? That's so funny.
We do our research here. Come on.
Wow.
Okay, that's true. So to give some background on the original title, the synopsis of the short is, a 20-something-year-old is on, this journey to lose her virginity, but her plans become awry with the arrival of a yeast infection. And so it's also, just about like this family drama that she's experiencing in her personal life and highlighting like her culture and where she comes from, and also her outlook on life as a young 20-year-old. So the original title was called Yeasty. um I still feel very passionately about it to this day. We still call it that sometimes, but figured in the grand scheme of things it was better to change it.
Well, I don't know. It's almost should be a spoiler alert with that title, I
Yeah.
think. I think
That's
maybe
fair.
that's
Yeah.
why it's problematic. And also, so close. Also, the family's very close, so there's sort of
Yep.
multiple meanings there.
Yeah.
We liked it because it's kind of a euphemism, and also she's so close to all the things that she wants in life, but still yet so far away. Um, what I loved most about the original Yeasty title was that it wasn't just the title; also the main character was simply called Yeasty on page, like in Fleabag. How Fleabag is just called Fleabag. We didn't even name her. So and then we realized we should probably change that. But now whenever we refer to the main character of the short, we never really know what to say. We just say like the main character because she doesn't really have a name.
One of the things I think you did really well with the short, is that there's sort of this adage that when you're doing a short, there's this belief that in shorts you should focus on events, like a singular event, and in a feature you have more time for character development. But I feel like you managed to really develop this character. I don't know if I'm going to call her Yeasty or not. The main character, Miss Y. Um, you've developed her in a way that we want to know more and learn more about her, but managed to do that in the short, and sort of it is based around an event, keeps our attention. I'd like to know more about the screenwriting process, how you work together, how long it took to bring this short together.
It's actually funny, how you talked about it, because when we started writing, there was a brief moment where we were like, should we just make this a feature? And then we were like, oh, no, 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 proof of concept first. So yeah, it definitely resembles a feature in that way because we just had so much we wanted to tell.
Yeah, like at the same time that we were writing the short, we were also writing down all of these ideas for the feature. So the two scripts were kind of building at the same time. But that, in terms of the actual process, Dara wrote the very first kind of rough draft, and
I tried
then
writing it on my own initially, but then I was like, I need Ben's help.
because I think the way that we write and why it works so well is that Dara is more like ideas and especially with this like jokes, and then I can come in from the actual sort of like writing and story structure standpoint and take all of her ideas and actually sort of streamline it into something, a very nice concise story. So we basically, I think we would send drafts back and forth and give each other notes, and that was the process for the short, kind of back
Yeah,
and
and then once
forth.
we like agreed on the notes, then the next person wrote the next draft, and yeah.
Yeah, so we were kind of just handing the baton back and forth, while at the same time thinking like we were always saying, "Wouldn't this be funny? Wouldn't this be funny?" And then a lot of jokes that I don't know. I feel like we thought were really funny at first, kind of ended up getting cut just for the sake of the story. And
You know,
one
you
of our
cut a lot of
drafts,
my jokes for the sake of time. It really hurt.
yeah,
I
I
tried my
think one of
best.
our drafts ended up being like 25 pages long, and we were
Yeah,
like, "This is not feasible for a short film."
Mm.
yeah.
So how long was that writing process, do you think?
I think we
We started
started
in
in,
October.
yeah, October, and then I mean we had a draft that we were like really happy with at least by December, I want to say.
Yeah, I was
Wow.
gonna say I think like winter.
Yeah, and then it was just little drafts. I think we ended up
Yeah,
writing 10 drafts until we got to the shooting script.
yeah, that sounds
But
right.
yeah, couple months. But we also had the luxury of working in Dara's office. I would always go and hang out at the office, and we did this like 2 3 nights a week. So we had this great routine of just going and having the exact same place. And I think that routine is such an important thing when you are writing, and just finding that spot, maybe get out the house, meet up, and then it always, there was rarely a day where we weren't able to write, you know.
Did you have a page goal when you would meet? Did you just sort of work through it for a certain amount of time? How did you pace yourself over that time?
I think an important thing that I think that lots of screenwriters, and again, I talk as if I'm the expert, but I'm 24 years old, you know. Um,
You're
but
the
you
expert
can't,
to me.
yeah. Oh, you can't put a number on the amount of pages that you want to get done in a day, because every day is going to be different. And honestly, when you are writing, you should be happy that you even get one page done in a day. So I think that we knew vaguely what kind of time of the year that we wanted to shoot the short, but we weren't going to rush the actual writing process to get to that point, because we just wanted it to be good, and we knew that we had one chance at fundraising from friends and family. So it, like, if this is our Hail Mary of making a short film, then it had to be perfect. We took a lot of time making a beat sheet first, and kind of making this outline of, beat by beat of what the story would be. And then once we had that really strong foundation in place, writing the actual script came very easily. And I know that everyone's writing process is different, but for us, we love writing the beats out first, because then it's like, oh, maybe you're stuck writing the actual script, and all you have to do is just refer to the beats. Boom, there we go. That's what I have to write.
You'd mentioned your funding from friends and family largely, it sounds like. How did you fund this project, and how long did that take, and where did those funds come from?
Yeah, so we did a Seed and Spark page for fundraising, which was cool because we had all these incentives for different price points.
I
So
was doing
Dara, I think
crazy incentives. I was like, if you follow us on Instagram, I'll record a dance for you. Like, I was having too much fun with it.
it was, but it was this really kind of fun like grassroots thing that we were doing. I think one of them was like that you would draw pictures for people about anything that they wanted, and we also Dara did a stand up comedy night, just like doing jokes about the movie. Um, so we were just doing all kinds of things and really kind of spreading the good word about the movie. But yeah, the main thing I think with fundraising is that you just have to go to the people closest to you, the people who actually love and support you. And I see so many filmmakers just putting up their fundraising page and just expecting that everyone who sees it is going to put something towards it. Sadly, that's not the reality. So you
It
need to
didn't
know,
work.
you need to go to the people who you can actually trust will give you a bit of money. So we ended up raising, I think we did 15K ish.
It was a
Uh,
little less. I got us to 15K.
yeah, so it was around there, mainly friends and family. Um, but yeah, that was the process.
Yeah.
It's so easy to throw a page up there and okay, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a Kickstarter. We'll put a trailer up there. The world will see this. We will be funded. All will be well in the world. And you really need to, at the very least, sort of prime the pump with those friends and family to donate out of the gate to show to show momentum
Yeah.
and get some other people on board. Is that similar to how you're funding the feature version?
For the feature, I think features are such a different beast. But the way that we did it was basically um,
We're
having
doing it. We're still in the
yes,
process.
yes, oh yeah, we're halfway funded for the feature. But we knew that a lot of it relies on having a key piece of talent in the lead role. The way that we're doing the feature, it's not your kind of typical indie with like unknown actors, and then you just kind of hope and dream that you might get into Sundance. We wanted to do something where we attach actual known actors. So our lead actress, actually, I don't know, are we allowed to say anything right now, or
Maybe
hey?
don't, just in case.
Yeah. But so we got our key piece of talent first, who is a rising star, and then but first we got a letter of intent for $50,000 from a family friend who was looking to get into investing. And I think that's the thing with like people know people. I think that filmmakers kind of psych themselves out when it comes to fundraising, but you definitely know someone who knows someone who knows someone with at least a bit of cash. So what we did was a letter of intent, not even real money, and I think that's the kind of amazing thing. You can find these little loopholes in getting movies made. So it's like, let me go grab some fake money. Now I've got a letter saying that we've got this potential money invested into the movie. We take that to the actor's agent saying, okay, this project has motion. And they're like, okay, yes, we see that. They sign on to it. Then we go back to the money people. We got the actress. Now can we get the money for real? And then once we got that initial money, that then opened up doors to our EP has connections to other investors, and that kind of got the ball rolling. So really, it's about the same way with the short film, just trying to get that first little bit of money. Little bit for a feature, a little bit is actually a lot, but yeah, get that in any way you can. Just pull that together from people that and then the rest of it does come.
I do want to ask you more about the feature, but I wanted to jump back to your short and the strategy that you used. Dara, we were talking before we started about how you approached film festivals when it came to your short.
Yeah. Well, I think it was Aaron, mostly our other producer, that was, creating a list of festivals that we should apply to. And then Nate, our EP, would kind of go through the list and be like, okay, yes, no, yes, no. And then I was the one on Film Freeway, like submitting to everything. And we at that point knew we were going to make the feature. So we were like, okay, well, let's then just shoot our shot and, aim for these bigger festivals. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. We're still going to make a feature. So we did do that. We didn't get into any of them. But, we had the wonderful opportunity of playing at Phoenixville, and that was amazing. Just to be able to be in a theater and laugh at our film with other people. But yeah, the our festival strategy didn't exactly work, but I don't know if we would regret any of it. We still tried.
Yeah, it's tough because I know people who try to get into just as many festivals as possible, and then they go to as many festivals as possible, and there is value in that, but at the same time there's so much time and expense that goes
Yes.
into it.
I do
Yeah.
not have the money to burn on, trying to go to as many festivals as we possibly can. So we were very strategic about it and, kept it to a somewhat condensed list. We also originally got into, I think it was the New York Shorts Film Festival, but
Mm.
unfortunately, so many festivals have all these like premiere rules, and we submitted to all the bigger New York festivals, and so we rejected the New York Shorts Film Festival in hopes that not even not even like thinking we'd get into the bigger ones, but it was just like a just in case we don't want to ruin our chance. And it ended up being a waste to reject it because we didn't get into any of those. But I mean, like it's such a risky thing, like knowing when to accept and reject when all these festivals have so many rules.
We also look, a big thing that they tell everyone, I think it's what the 11-minute rule for shorts, that like if your short is going over 11 minutes, it needs to be the best short ever. And I think we realized very early on in the writing process that there was no way that we were going to be able to bring this down. So we just kind of committed to the fact that it's going to be long and we'll see what happens. But I think that people also need to be aware of the purpose of just like why are you making the short? Are you trying to get festival glory, or
Mhm.
in our case we were making it as a proof of concept? So again, like we just wanted it to be the best proof of concept possible, and part of that was making it a bit longer, and in that case it very much succeeded, because again, like the feature is rolling, and we wouldn't have any of that if it wasn't for the short. So we use that to show actors, and it's such a crucial thing for, we have 5 of our key cast attached to the feature now, and all of them watched the short film, and that was the big reason of why they signed on to the feature, because they could see it. The same with going to investors. So you just need to know if you're making your short as a proof of concept, in which case it doesn't matter really about festivals per se. Obviously, it's a nice sort of cherry on top, um, but they just need to be aware of like why are you doing this?
I'm curious for both of you, in the process of making this short, was there anything that surprised you that was a learning opportunity, or a difficulty you didn't expect, or something that was a hurdle that was particularly noteworthy in the process?
All of it.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is just all of it. I think
Yeah.
because it was, for all of us, it was the first time like out on our own. We just started this production company. We'd all just finished school recently, and it was terrifying, kind of, but also at the same time, it was really thrilling because we were just free, and we'd written this thing that we really loved. And I think like that was such an amazing learning opportunity for kind of this truly independent, like, it was just me and Erin, just two producers on this, and this very tight knit crew of, I think finding locations was a really tough thing. That is something that I can point to
Yeah.
and say, because locations, all they want is money for you to shoot there. So we were looking at New Jersey locations at first, and that didn't totally pan out because it's all set in Jersey. So we were looking at Jersey first, and then we ended up like we stayed at my parents' place on Long Island and shot in like my hometown where I grew up, where we had like a bit more pull. So I think,
Yeah,
I
luckily
mean,
it's a
look,
very small community, so everyone was a lot more willing there to let us film in their businesses.
yeah, like we had the scene at the one of our local pharmacies, and I spoke to the manager there, and I was like, "Hey, can we shoot?" And he was like, "Well, we can't close the place down during business hours." And I was like, "Okay." And he was like, "We've also had a commercial shoot here, and they gave us $100,000 to do that." I was like, "Oh, okay. Let's compromise on $500." So that was the kind of process doing that. I think when you're making a short film or doing anything, indie related, just go to the people that shoot at the locations that you go to all the time. I've been going to that pharmacy for as long as I've been living in New York. They know me. So if you want to save money, just stick to what you know,
You're both very young in your careers, getting started. We've heard a lot of kind of gloom and doom about the larger creative industry and Hollywood in particular. And I'm just curious, your view, as you're out there, you're making the projects you want to make. How do you feel about the outlook for the next, I don't know, 3 5 years for those who want to be doing this?
I felt the gloom. My first full-time job, our hours were cut because of the strikes. They never bounced back. They cut our hours again. And I was in, like, I was making minimum wage when, like, I probably shouldn't have been. Um, and after the second time my hours got cut, I was like, I'm moving into commercial. And I quit. And then the next day, I found my job, my new job. I quit, and then the next day, it was announced that our office was closing. So
Mm.
yeah, like, like I had all these like hopes and dreams of, moving up within my company and being there a while. And things were just so stagnant from, all of the strikes and all the setbacks from the industry. But like, especially like as a young filmmaker just starting out, like it's so discouraging to be experiencing all that so early in your career. Um, but I just had to hope it would get better. Um, Move into commercial, and just kind of hope for the best for our work outside of that, and just keep chugging along.
Yeah, and I think in terms of like just the state of indie filmmaking, I feel like it's getting increasingly hard to get indies made. I feel like people aren't as willing to fund. One of my favorite, do you remember Cord Jefferson's Oscar acceptance speech for American Fiction? I think he said something like, Hollywood needs to stop burning money on a $200 million movie and make 100 $2 million movies, or
Mm.
like,
Hmm.
1,000 200K movies. And I think that that is something that everyone should listen to. And we hear all the time about indies falling through and actors dropping out and funding getting cut. And I think that, especially for us right now with the feature, that's something that's always at the back of our minds. Like at any moment, this might fall through, which is why it's kind of difficult to celebrate even like the little things. Like I'll believe that this movie gets made when we wrap shooting it, Um, but also, I feel like people are always trying to say that, Hollywood's dying and that people are stopping going to the movies. I think it's very easy to get scared by big buzzwords like that. And, it gets a lot of clicks to write an article saying that movies are dying. The reality, especially now, I think the pendulum is swinging and it's trending in a far more positive direction. I think this year alone, we're seeing original movies making really good money, like, Sinners and Weapons, and we're seeing studios taking risks on, big budget original concepts. And I think that that's going to trickle down to the indie world as well, and that it's going to become cool again to take gambles on very original ideas. And I think the response that we've already seen to our idea, which we thought at first was nobody's going to want to do this, nobody's going to want to fund it, like it's a very high concept, like yeast infection coming of age comedy. It's not on paper the most marketable thing, but I think we can definitely see the pendulum swinging in the same way that like in the 70s and in the 90s it was all the power was in the hands of indie filmmakers. And call it wishful thinking, but I think that we can see the trend going back in that direction again. So I'm feeling hopeful, because what else is there to do but just have faith, right?
Dara, Ben, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Nice. Thank you for having
Thank you
us.
so much for having us. This was amazing.